make it possible for us to all be here today. And this work is for our 7 generations past and the 7 generations to come. So thank you so much for the Mampong family, for your tireless work and energy, and all who are here with us today. So my talk is about reproductive wellness and the Pan-African family. Does anyone know the brother Kevin Samuels?
Yeah.
Yes. How did Kevin Samuels die? He died from what, ma'am?
I believe according to the news reports, he was engaged in sexual intercourse and he died of a heart attack.
I'd like to begin and start my conversation with the men, right? With men's reproductive health. My background is in birth work. My background is mostly with the sisters. But for this conversation, because it's a whole family, I said, let's include the brothers. And so my research is about the reproductive wellness for our men, because we have to be reproducing with intention. Say for instance, Kevin Samuels is recreating a child with that semen that has this toxic chemical semen inside. Now the seed that is being birthed to create and build our community is not even natural, right? And so we need to make sure our cells and our DNA have as much natural, potent medicine and not this toxic chemical man-made drugs that can kill you and also affect your progeny, affect your DNA, and affect our Black family. Because when you now have 20,000 less nerve endings in your reproductive organs, you may need to exert more force in your sacred sexual time with your divine mate, with your queen, right? And so that may or may not be pleasurable because you have done something, altered your body in a certain way, medically, cosmetically maybe, or culturally or traditionally, but now you have 20,000 less cells that you're working with, and you may need to exert force. And when we're making love, do we really want to be exerting force? Do we really want to be beating it up? Right? These are some common phrases that people use, of course, not in these academic settings, but behind closed doors, a lot of, yes, the Baba right here, he's chuckling, he's laughing, because you know, right, it's true. And so, again, as mothers, as fathers, when you're giving birth, let's talk about it. Maybe in the olden days, we needed to do certain things, but really, is it necessary now? And yes, there are certain cultural practices. So I'm not here to debate the traditions, the different rites and passages. We're just putting these conversations out so we can talk about them. Okay. Next, I'd like to move on with women's reproductive health and wellness, which is my background. And so I want to talk about the products that we're putting onto our body and inside of this and how it affects our wombs. Similarly with the men, the things that you're ingesting in your body. If you're ingesting Coke, if you're ingesting fried chicken, if you're ingesting sugary donuts, then you're going to have these kids, a lot of times like, oh, the kids are ADD and they can't focus. Well, their DNA is made up of Coke and sugar and red dye 40 and MSG, right? And so we have to be mindful and intentional of the foods that we're putting into our bodies. The cells in our cells, so our cells are as potent and powerful as they can be so that we can have the most powerful progeny in children. We know we're nothing without our youth, and so we need to be co-creating Black powerful youth that are made of organic materials, not this Indomie and other chemical products. Are y'all with me? Okay, wonderful. A lot of the meats, fried foods, heavy metals get stored in our body and in our wombs and in our lymphatic system. And so if you're not sweating and perspiring, it's getting stuck in your body and it will calcify oftentimes in your wombs. And that's why so many of our Black women are suffering from PCOS, fibroids, and different womb dis-ease. And so I'd like to just put it on the hearts and minds of all of us locally and internationally to be mindful about what you're ingesting in your body, because that's going into your womb and you're going to be co-creating our future generations. Exactly. Also, as the lead of the family, as the queen, as the empress, making sure your children, your family have the freshest foods, like our brother was talking about food sovereignty. If my kids are on organic, light, alkaline food, they're gonna outsmart, outdance all of the children that are eating McDonald's and the MSG and the Indomie, right? And so we need to make sure our children's minds, bodies, and spirits are fortified with the highest vibrations and frequencies. The next piece that I wanted to touch on is about the chemicals and the products, specifically for the womb, for the women that we're using on our bodies, and then how it also affects us. A lot of deodorant is made with heavy metals. The aluminum, right, gets into your body and gets into your bloodstream, and now you're full of heavy metals, and you're not able to carry children to full term. Your body, your womb is not functioning optimally because you put on these heavy metal deodorant. You put on these chemical lotions and products in a plastic bottle when you can just go and get shea butter. You can just go and get coconut oil, right? So I'm putting it on the hearts and the minds of our sisters locally and internationally. Use organic chemicals and products. I remember growing up, I had an uncle and he would say, if I can't eat it, I'm not putting it on my body, right? And so look at the ingredients of the products that you're using. I'm eating my shea butter, I'm eating my coconut oil, my olive oil, my jojoba. I can put it, it's on my hair, on my skin, and on my body. It's not gonna cause any dis-ease to my womb, to my reproductive organs. Okay, a lot of the things that we're using calcify in our bodies, and then we have big tumors that need to be removed. Then we have to remove our wombs and have hysterectomies. But if we put products on our skin, on the biggest organ of our body, we wouldn't have these issues. Black women in America and African women in West Africa, from my research, have the highest numbers of fibroids, right? It's coming from the bleaching cream. It's coming from the perms. There's a lot of research out there that talk about the perms and the relaxers, and they get into your scalp, they get into your bloodstream, and now the chemicals are accumulated in your lymphatic system, and they're just sitting there causing dis-ease. Okay, so please be as organic as possible, eat as much fruits and vegetables and water as possible, and then exercise. Move your body. So if some, chemicals do get in, they're able to flush out of your system. The next piece that I wanted to touch on is our youth, right? We talked about a couple points for the men, we talked about a couple points for the women, and now it's coming to our youth. Who in this room had a rites of passage, a coming of age, when they were 9, 10, 11, 12, or 13, or anyone in the audience? Okay, Obadale, I've got one hand. So I'm looking at about 30 people here, not sure how many people online. Okay, 2. Soma, 3.
My daughter Amma also did grandpa at Reproductive.
So even we have families here that are taking their youth to connect with the local communities that are still doing this. But we have to be Black powerful and say, hey, I'm gonna organize a young women's group. I'm gonna do a rites of passage for the ladies in my community. And the brothers too, organize. These brothers out here, they don't know the traditions, they don't know the culture. Let's take 5 or 10 and let's do 3 months and train them on how to protect their family, train them on how to hunt, train them on financial literacy, right? Train them on how to steward their male reproductive organs so they can have Black powerful youth and to know that their semen is valuable and not to be spewing it anyhow. Teach them of these practices of ejaculation, recycling their male semen up their spine, up in front of their body, and circulating it through, not spewing it out until they're really ready to create these Black powerful youth. That is why so many of these foreigners, the Kardashians and others, they want to get this Black man because they know our DNA is so potent and powerful. Brothers, hold on to your seeds. They know that their European Caucasian race is dying out, and these women, they know that they need the Black DNA. They know they need our sperm. They need our life force energy. Teach the young brothers the power of their seed. Same with the sisters. Sisters, we need to have rites of passage for the young girls so they know how to keep their body. They know hygiene. They know how to care for their home and their hair. with natural products. They can feel proud of their afro and don't think that they're looking ugly because they don't have a perm. Girl, that perm is gonna cause you problems. They need to see from their aunties and uncles the beautiful locks and know that we're using these natural chemicals so we can have strong children. That perm is not for us, it's toxic. So I'm encouraging our sisters locally and internationally to gather sisters, have some rites of passage, meet with the other women in your community so we can't say, oh, the sisters don't know culture anymore, the young girls don't know culture anymore, because you're allowing them to be on social media. You're allowing YouTube to teach your children about sex and boys and foreplay and all of the other things. But if you begin this conversation at 1 and 2 years old and talking to your children about their sacred body parts, about their reproductive organs, then it doesn't have to be an awkward conversation. It's a normal and natural part of life, right? That is how we are born, from the divine masculine and feminine coming together to create all of us here. So we shouldn't be ashamed, but let's start the conversation when the babies are 2. And oh look, yeah, there goes little Kwaku's penis, and that's his sacred body part. When he's ready, he will find a woman, and when he's able to provide for her, and together they will have a family. But until now, leave your pee-pee alone. It's for you, it's not for anybody. Oh, cover yourself, little sis. That is for your divine mate's eyes. You don't need to show your waist beads. Waist beads are lingerie. They should not be worn out traditionally and culturally, little sisters. They're sacred tools for your man, not for the community to see. So some things are getting lost in culture and globalization, but there's origins and roots of our waist beads. There's origin and roots to certain things. They're not just accessories for anyone anyhow. But again, I'm not here to teach you all, but I'm just here to share certain points so you can go back to your sisters and your mothers and daughters and have these conversations. Okay, my last point before I close out is just to be mindful, right? If you have we all have hormones and they need to be kept in balance. So I just want you all to know that there are natural plant medicines to just help keep your hormones in balance. Dr. Sharita was speaking about plant medicine yesterday, and we need to make sure we age, and the body doesn't always function optimally with age. And so take time to learn about, like we went on the first day, the nature walk. Learn about the natural medicines that nature and God has provided for you to help keep you healthy and strong. The toxicity in the pads and the tampons, they're being bleached. My own personal case study, I was traveling, I was in a remote village, my sacred moon time came, and I didn't have any of my own pads with me. I had to go to a local pharmacy. I didn't have this pad on for more than an hour, and my inner thighs were itching. I said, I have read about this. These pads are filled with chemicals, and I took them off, and I got a piece of old material, and I cut it up, and I just used that, like our grandmothers did. We have to take it back sometimes to the old ways, because these products have chemicals in it that make you bleed more so that you can buy up more of the product. Capitalism at its worst, killing our wombs.